Hey everybody, this is Eric with LifeMission Church with you again on a Tuesday to do a devotional thought on the subject of salvation. This is Holy Week 2020, and Holy Week is the week of Jesus' life between Palm Sunday and Easter Sunday. So there's a lot of celebrating on both ends of that week. Some tragic stuff that happened in the middle, of course. But one of the insights that I wanted to share with you today is something that I've done through the years. I don't do this every single year, but I've done it a number of times through the years, where I want to connect with Jesus' life in such a way as to feel the time. That's just a phrase that goes through my mind, feel the time. So, for instance, on Palm Sunday, I will actually think about the triumphal entry. I'll read that story and think about it. We know that on Sunday or Monday of that week, Jesus cleared the temple of the money changers. You're probably familiar with that story. On Tuesday, there's quite a bit of information that we know about what happened on Tuesday of Holy Week in Jesus' life. It actually covers about 5 chapters in Matthew. If you were to start reading in chapter 21 of Matthew, the first 19 verses will cover Palm Sunday and the clearing of the temple. But starting at verse 20 and then going all the way through chapter 25, you learn that Jesus had an incredible, he told his final parables on that Tuesday. He was confronted by the religious leaders on several questions, which he answered brilliantly on Tuesday. We know that on Wednesday of the week, and so tomorrow when I think about these things, tomorrow I'll actually think about the fact that the religious leaders were plotting to kill Jesus, and they found a willing accomplice in Judas on Wednesday, that Judas actually agreed to betray Jesus on Wednesday of Holy Week. On Thursday, of course, we know that Peter and John prepared the Passover during the day under circumstances that were actually quite miraculous. Jesus told them, "You'll see a man with a water pitcher, follow him wherever he ends up. That's where we're going to have the Passover." And it was just as Jesus has said it would be. We know that Thursday evening, the Last Supper took place, that Jesus washed his disciples' feet. He predicted Judas's betrayal and Peter's denial. And so on Thursday night, I'll begin to start being more intentional about feeling the time. I will think about what happened Thursday evening. I'll read those passages and think about them and pray over them. We know that from Thursday night going into Friday morning around midnight, Jesus had been in the Garden of Gethsemane and he had been praying. Now, I'm pretty sure that I won't stay up till midnight this Friday night, but if I do, I will be thinking, before I go to bed, I will be thinking about Jesus' intense prayers and how Judas did betray him and how he was arrested. I'm sure that I'm not going to be awake around 3 in the morning. But some very serious things happened about that time of the night. When I do wake up, I'll think about the fact that around 3 in the morning, they had taken Jesus to Annas' house. He was the father-in-law of the high priest. My feeling is that they probably weren't ready to try Jesus yet, and so they had to rush things together. So let's hold him at Annas' house. And Annas kind of betrayed him pretty roughly, or treated him pretty roughly is what I meant to say. They then sent him to Caiaphas' house. That was Annas' son-in-law. Caiaphas and the council got together and they had this illegal trial. And then around 6 in the morning, they gathered officially to condemn Jesus for blasphemy. He claimed he was God, and that's blasphemy. So he's guilty of claiming to be God. Only problem is, if you actually do things that kind of confirm that you are God, then that's not really blasphemy. But on Friday morning at breakfast, I'll be thinking about everything that happened through the night. Through the morning, I'll be thinking about the fact that Jesus was turned over to Pilate. Pilate really didn't want to have anything to do with condemning Jesus, but found himself with a crowd that was so intense and Jewish leaders that were so intensely against Jesus that he actually ended up saying, "Okay, I wash my hands of the whole thing. I'm delivering him to crucify him here." And so we know that Jesus was crucified about 9 in the morning or so, or he was led to be crucified around 9 in the morning. He was crucified between 2 thieves. We know that. About noon, The Bible tells us that darkness covered the land, and I'll be thinking around lunchtime on Friday about how the darkness had covered the land. And I've experienced some Good Fridays where the weather was super nasty and dark, and that's always been kind of a reminder as well of what Jesus went through. But around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, that's when I'll start thinking about Jesus' death and how he died for me, and he died for my family, my friends, and for everybody that he died for the world. But I personalize it, and I think, okay, he died for the people I know. I need to tell them that Jesus has died for them. And then by 6 o'clock on Friday night, Jesus had been taken down from the cross. That needed to happen because of the Passover and everything. And so Jesus was buried Friday evening. And here's the really sad part of feeling the time. All day Saturday, I keep thinking about Jesus is dead. Jesus is buried, and his followers are mourning his death, and everyone's world is upside down. They thought he was it. They thought he was the king. They thought he was going to deliver them. And now here he is. He was crucified yesterday, and today he's dead, and we don't know what we're going to do. And I connect with that thought several times through Saturday, through the evening, and even when I go to bed on Saturday night. Jesus is still dead, and Jesus's disciples are still mourning. Then I wake up on Sunday morning. Thank God there is a Sunday morning. There's an old song that goes, "It may seem like Friday night, but Sunday's on the way." And you wake up on Sunday morning and you realize Jesus has risen from the dead. The tomb is empty. And throughout Sunday, you start thinking about Jesus is starting to, his disciples are starting to see an empty tomb. And then Mary sees him. Mary Magdalene sees him, and she tells the disciples. And then, little by little, the disciples are encountering him. And so I say all of that to say that consider this year, consider feeling the time. Stay connected to the story as it plays out during this literal week. Tonight, Tuesday night, read Matthew 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. See what Tuesday was like for Jesus. And then as you go on through the rest of the week, stay connected to God's Word. Stay connected to thinking about what Jesus had accomplished. Like I said, it may seem like Friday night, even in this world that we live in, this situation that we're living in now, it may seem like Friday night, but Sunday is on its way. This is Eric. We'll talk to you later.